This next area is obviously very important. Volume indicators. It's fine to know that a share is moving forward in value, but can it take our trading dollar with it as well? Let's go back to that example and look at volume. As such, we're now looking at this column, the turnover column. The amount of shares that have changed hands on a given day, in most cases, delivered in lots of hundreds because of the excessive size. So on this one, 843,700 shares changed hands, 103,100, 1,712,000, etc. What I also see traders make one of their first moves as far as selection is concerned and research is to go to this column. Go down the column and highlight anything with a big number to take to the next step. Anything with over, say, 1 million shares changing hands on a given day. I'll also suggest to you as well that you don't waste your time doing that. Very brief example, if you had two companies on one day, both having 1 million shares change hands, we could assume there was the same amount of activity in both of them. But if we slowed up and looked at it in a bit of, I suppose, streetwise manner, and the first one was BHP with 1.3 billion shares or thereabouts on issue, the million turnover to that particular company means a certain percentage of that company was attacked on that day. If the other company you were looking at, however, was a little mining company with 30 million shares on issue, the million turnover to the little one means a lot more activity has occurred there than the million did to BHP. So whilst we look at, in fact, even 500,000 turnover to the small one meant a lot more activity than the million to BHP. So whilst we also look at volume, I make sure my students understand they need to bring it down one more common sense step and look at it in context of the company that they're actually looking at as well, to look at a percentage of attack, not just a big figure. Is everyone comfortable as well as to why we do that? Good. As I've said, I'm very, very specific on making sure that anybody, at least that sits in my workshops, knows what it is they're doing and can do it manually. But the computing industry allows us, I suppose, a few shortcuts. It's another typical readout of information from the smart system. It's just the figures of the industry. But on any day where turnover occurs, this next column tells my students what percentage of attack that means. So they are not just looking at big numbers, they're actually looking at what does matter, and that is percentage of attack on that particular share. Just finally on volume and the importance of it as well, and I will put my hand up, I could well be corrected. I've had quite a few people now from overseas do these workshops, 3 in particular from the United States, have told me the following, that the next report you're about to see that I also generate, I should say, from a research tool as such, that's smart, is again unique in the world. We can look at volume columns, or at least volume, the top 10 turnover tomorrow in the newspaper for research, and they'll be the same companies that were in them today. Commonwealth Bank, National Bank, ANZ, they all turn over this large amount of shares each day. It doesn't mean anything. If you do it properly, and this is just an additional area of research available in my research tool, whereby I've gone in very quickly, on a certain day asked it to go into the resource sector of the industry and give me the top 15 hit companies. And it gives them to me in the following manner. Now, the top one, Carpathian Resources, with 4.1 million shares changing hands, closing at 11.5 cents, representing 6% of the company's holding, may or may not have hit a volume report in a newspaper. But I can see A1 Minerals, the third one, with 690,000 shares changing hands on that day, closing at 60 cents, representing 3.1% of the company's turnover, or holdings I should say. Isn't it even a million shares? Almost every trader's thoughts or vision would go straight past that in the newspaper. Not even a million shares have changed hands. On this day, however, it happened to be the third most interestingly attacked stock in the whole resource sector based on percentage of attack.